Alright, today I'm going to give you guys a little demo drive of Tesla's new full self-driving Supervised. I have a 2018 Model 3 and the software version is 2024.3.10 and it has full self-driving 12.3.3. This is the version of the software that every Tesla driver, as long as they have the FSD computer, which is every car built after 2019, they get a full month of it for free. So it's usually like $10,000 or $12,000 outright, or $200 a month. So yeah, since so many people are going to have access to it, I figured I'd do a little video. I've had FSD for probably over a year now, but there's a reason why version 12 is the one that they actually are opening to everyone to try out. It's because it is by far the best version they've ever had. So to enable FSD, you just go to autopilot, and you'll usually have traffic aware cruise control on up here, or auto steer, which is otherwise known as autopilot. That comes standard with every Tesla, and all auto steer does is it keeps you in your lane, usually on the expressway, and has traffic aware cruise control. So if you're still on that, just switch over to FSD Supervised. You'll get some dialogue saying that you are still responsible for everything and you need to be paying attention still. So it's still a level 2 system where there has to be a human driver paying attention. As of now, you have to be supervising it at all times. One difference, once you have FSD on autopilot, you have the option to do a double pull. So you double press this stalk to go into autopilot, and a single press would be just cruise control. Now it's a single pull and it's always FSD, and there's no option to make it double pull. That enables you to do, if you need to take over, just moving the steering wheel will deactivate the whole thing instead of keeping cruise control on. I think that's a better option anyway. So then there's 3 different driving profiles on FSD. Chill, which I believe is what it starts out on. It might be average, and then assertive. In older builds, I'd keep it on average, but on FSD 12, I've been liking assertive. Seems to be marginally better than average. I'm not sure if they're even much different, and I've never tried chill, but it sounds a little too cautious. But you can choose whatever you want, and then when you're on FSD, you can use the right scroll wheel left and right to change that on the fly. So one thing that FSD allows you to do is automatically change lanes. So this option, lane change notification, lets you change it between no notification, a chime, vibrate, which vibrates the steering wheel, or both. I just have it on a chime, and that lets me know without having to look at the screen that it's going to try to change lanes. And then you can also say don't change minimal lane changes for current drive. That lets you make it change lanes less often. That's useful on like longer trips where you don't really care about maintaining your max speed on the expressway all the time. That's also accessible in the left and right scroll wheel menu when you're on FSD. So let's start. I'm going to get some hot dogs here in Grand Rapids at Yesterdog. So I'm in a parking lot right now, and all you gotta do is you put your foot on the brake, go into drive, and then let go of the brake, and then a single pull will start FSD, and it's pulling out of the parking spot. When FSD is on, you will see a little, I guess you could call it a blue tentacle type thing. That's how you know it's on. Or there's a little blue steering wheel that actually turns with your steering wheel. next to the drive icons. And if you have to take over, you just press your foot on the brake and it disengages, or let me do it again. Just take over with the steering wheel and it takes over again. Alright, let me turn it back on here. I got a foot off the brake. So I think I manually turned the blinker off there, so I'll turn it back on. So it made that turn by itself. The biggest thing with FSD 12 that is different than previous versions is FSD 12 uses full end-to-end neural network AI for its decision making. Before version 12, it would only the detection would use AI, and then all the driving behavior decisions were with human-written C++ code. So this allowed them to delete, hundreds of thousands of manually coded stuff for decision making, and as a result, this seems to be way more, way better at making decisions. That usually doesn't happen, but it can. But it made the turn perfectly fine. And now when you're on the expressway, I believe it does not use the same end-to-end approach on the expressway yet. So it behaves more like, version 11 and before that. I could be wrong, but the reason I think that is that it doesn't, the max speed thing is a hard-coded speed, whereas on the other version, you have the option to make it an automatic max speed. And that's not an option on the expressway. So every once in a while, you just saw a prompt there that'll tell you to put your hand on the wheel, give it a little tug. It doesn't have to be much. You're supposed to be having your hand on the steering wheel kind of like this at any time. You see when it changes lanes, it highlights the lane in blue that it wants to go to, and it just changes. So you're supposed to kind of have your hand on it like this. I usually just have my hand on my lap. But yeah, it'd probably be better to just be more like this. Hopefully in the future, at least on expressways, they will switch to using the in-camera or in-cabin camera. They already do use that to determine attentiveness. So like if I look away, usually it'll, well, of course when you try to demo it, it won't do it, but it knows that if you're paying attention, and then we'll say, hey, stop, pay attention to the road, and then you gotta do a little nag thing there. But yeah, FSD on the highway has been extremely solid for probably the last year, so nothing to really complain about. As you can see, I made the visualization full screen, but you can just have it here and keep your maps on the side there. But just for demo purposes, I'll keep it full screen. So there it is, the little nag again. And really, if they remove that nag, at least from expressway driving, then there's really no competitive advantage of Ford's Blue Cruise or GM's Super Cruise. Those already technically are not as cool because they require HD maps and don't work on super sharp curves, and some of them only don't work in the rain, and yada yada yada. So FSD works on literally any street. Really the last frontier is the last 50 50 feet of a drive, like parking or yeah, pretty much parking. So, and it seems logical that the vision only auto park feature, which was also introduced in this version, would kind of just sort of be merged into an FSD drive and just, you know, decide a parking spot to park in, or just ask the driver automatically. So here you see it sees the cones and everything, knows they're construction. Usually it pulls into the lane farthest away from the cones if that's possible. But since this is vision only, it doesn't use, you know, maps for seeing anything around them. So there's stopped cars here, so it's slowing down. It saw that well ahead of time, started braking hard a little too soon, but I don't have an example of it right now, but say this veered onto the other side of the expressway, so technically on the oncoming side, it follows that totally fine because it's using vision only. Solutions like Blue Cruise and Super Cruise from GM, I believe, don't even work when there's construction detected, but even if they did, if there was any sort of weird diversion, it would probably turn off because you would potentially be on an unmapped, like non-HD map. So this just uses vision only at real time, and no radar, no LiDAR, just cameras. So it does use navigation, but that's only to know, you know, where to go, not necessarily like what the road is supposed to look like. So I'm not actually sure. Okay, it is supposed to get off here. Oh, because the expressway is just completely closed. So it's putting its blinker on to get over. There are cones there, so it really can't. But there's nothing really unsafe about that. It's just kind of confused because this is just straight up going into the exit ramp because there's no other option. And for transparency, I did not pick this specific route. I'm just going to Yesterdog to get some hot dogs with some friends, and I honestly did not even know the freeway was closed here. So even if I did try to pick the predefined route, I would not have known about this. So. And I'm not sure if we're going to cut pieces out of this video, like this boring part here. But if I do, I'm not skipping stuff because I don't want you to see something. It's more like it's a waste of time because all I'm doing is sitting at the light, kind of a thing. So, or I might just leave this unedited and raw, I'm not sure. Obviously, when you're watching this, you will be able to tell. So it needs to turn right, so it needs to be on the right side of the end. The light's green. The light's yellow. So it's pulling over for, or pulling up for visibility. If I were driving, I probably would have went sooner. but I'm not necessarily driving, so I'm letting it drive. And you can take over at any time if you thought that you really just should have went there, and you just take over and go. Now, there's quite a few cars coming here, and there's an opening right about now, and it's deciding to go. So I didn't do that. I didn't tell it to go. It's just going. So yeah, so if you didn't have FSD enabled, I don't believe you get any of this visualization. When it is enabled, like if you're opted in, even if you're not using FSD, you do get this visualization. So like, see it, now it's not on, but all the visuals are still there. So that's nice. You still got visualization, but not quite as good as this. And I'm hearing rumors that it's getting revamp and gonna look even better. Let me turn it back on. One thing it does is it turns auto brights on even when your lights aren't even on. I don't really understand that, but you can turn it off with the stock. To get over, I think. So I didn't put the blinker on there. I was about to, but you can manually put the blinker on and it will get over. That's especially useful on the highway when, you know, it's not getting over when you think it should get over. Oh, it's not actually this light, so I thought it was. So my one main gripe with FSD 12 is on surface streets, it's not doing it right now, but usually it drives slower than the speed limit when it doesn't have to. Pretty sure that's most people's thoughts on FSD 12. But you can always override with the accelerator like this without deactivating FSD. At least with the Auto Max, it usually stays around what you press it to go to. But I guess it didn't there. Notice the speed limit's 40. It can read speed limit signs and change. And even when there is no speed limit sign to read, not entirely sure where they get their data, but there's some database somewhere where they know the speed limit. However, that's not always correct, so that does get annoying, but especially when like streets 45 and there's like a you see those people jaywalking there, and you see them on the screen. They went in front of the car in front of us, but I'm pretty sure FSD will let them go. It's very cautious around pedestrians, even when the pedestrians are, you know, technically not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Especially when there's literally a crosswalk right there, but who am I to complain? So green arrow, turn here, and it handles that perfectly fine. So I don't know if this is true, but I've anecdotally noticed that surface streets driving does have the steering wheel nag more often than expressway driving. That's just what it seems like. It could be true, could be not. I'm not entirely sure. It would make sense if that's how it was, though. So here the speed limit's technically 25, so you saw it adjust there. But nobody actually goes 25. So the auto max is supposed to, if it can, just, you know, try to match the traffic around you, not try to go like, you know, way slower than everyone else. And if you don't like that behavior, you can take it off of automatic speed offset right there, and then it will follow your previous settings, which can either be always the speed limit, always 5 over, or like a percentage, like 5% over, so it'd be more over in miles per hour the higher the speed limit is. That's what I have. I can't remember exactly. Oh, it's a relative 5 mile an hour. I'm not entirely sure what that means actually. Unless the other one is an absolute speed limit value, then that would make sense. Because there used to be a percentage, now it's not. So here it was going slower than the speed limit, and then I think someone came up behind us a little bit and made it speed up a little. So within reason it will speed up, I guess. But yeah, the main complaint is, why does it go under the speed limit even when you're like literally the only car on the road? That doesn't make any sense. And then another thing it does is it kind of brakes early. Not too hard, but like, you know, especially at stop signs and especially at stop signs, it slows down like way earlier than most people would. That's definitely new behavior from FSC 12. So if I were driving, I might have let that person in to turn across from me. It's supposed to be able to do that. It seemed like it tried and then decided not to. And then one big difference is my car has the forward-facing radar in the front bumper, but since FSD came out, they just totally disabled that. And what that would have allowed this to do is see straight through the car in front of me, and it used to be able to see, you know, I think 2 or 3 cars in front of the car in front of you. So now, since it's vision only, it obviously cannot see that because cameras can't see through cars. If it was a sedan in front of me, maybe it would see the cars in front, but if I can't see a car in front of them, it can't, even though there are cars in front of it. However, that's not very important, because who cares what the car in front of me does at a stoplight? So it also gives quite a bit of room between you and the car in front of it, and you're allowed just slightly use the accelerator to reduce that gap like that, and it'll stop. So here's a case again where I'm not sure if the speed limit's actually 25 here, but it thinks it is, and it's going well over that and matching the car in front and behind me. So yeah, the speed limit's actually 30. Now it saw that, but it's going over that. So if we were by ourselves on this road, it seems like for whatever reason it would be going 25 even though it's 30. And again, that's only sometimes, so I'm not really really sure how it's deciding that, but I'm sure the Tesla team's aware of that, and we'll take care of that in the next update. So as we come to another red light, say something crazy happened here and I had to deactivate, so I took over. You see this little thing says autopilot disengaged. What happened, if you press the right scroll wheel, you can leave a voice message, and then that gets sent to the Tesla AI team, and they'll be able to see your note along with the video, and hopefully be able to train the model to not do whatever it did or do what it was supposed to do. So let me turn it back on here. And I didn't do that in any certain spot, I just decided to show you there. Not like it couldn't handle that straight away like it was the entire time. So on this road there's a bike lane over there, and it's easily not going into that, and it even shows it on there with the bike icon when it shows up on the actual pavement. So I'll speed it up here a little bit, just a little tap, and it seems to speed up for, I don't know if it's the entire road or, well, now it's slowing down because of the car in front of me, so. So I'm fairly certain we've been in East Grand Rapids for a little bit. It's a Monday, solar eclipse day actually, and just after rush hour. But so here's a yellow light. In Michigan, you can turn right on red. So I would have probably turned there. I don't think it says no turn on red, does it? It says that for the other road, so. So I'm gonna make it inch forward here to see if maybe it'll turn. Oh, looks like someone's gonna get pulled over by a cop over there. Alright, I'm gonna actually just make it go here. So it's still an FSD. I pressed the accelerator to turn. I'm not sure if it was going to turn at all. It might have thought you can't turn right on red there. I'm not sure. I know that's illegal in some states, so I'm not entirely sure how FSD handles that, if it knows that it's in a state that can't turn right on red. But I don't live in one of those states, so I can't really show you. See what I mean though? It's like slowing down way too early, and then it just like drives 5-ish miles an hour up to the stop light or stop sign. Not really sure that's necessary. So it sees those pedestrians running there and didn't turn, and now they're out of the way, and then it turns. Usually if it's looking at a certain thing of interest, it'll highlight it blue. I'm not sure if it did there, but it would highlight those people blue, or a car blue that's specially looking at. So we're coming towards the end here. At the very end, I'm gonna have to take over and manually park in the parking lot. That is pretty much one of the last things that FSD just can't do by itself. But it very easily could be updated to allow that, especially since auto park is an actual feature, just separate from FSD driving. Yeah, it can't do that, and the last thing is it can't reverse, so it can't go in reverse. So if there's any maneuver it needs to do that requires going in reverse, it just won't do it, or it'll turn off. I'm not really sure, I haven't been in that situation. But so like if you're backing out of a parking spot or your driveway, you're gonna have to do that yourself. So here's Wealthy Street in Grand Rapids. It's a brick road, so it's a little noisy. Dog up here, it's the red awning there, but I'm gonna take over because they gotta park in this parking lot here. So and I do have some form of FSD or of auto park. I believe they still call it auto park, but it's not vision only, and it's not using FSD at all, so it's a little slow, and I see no reason really to use it in normal parking spots anyway. But it would be really useful in parallel parking. So alright, let me end this video, but see, as you see, there's no interventions other than the accelerator pedal, if you want to count that as an intervention at all. So there's a little demo drive into Grand Rapids.